The document you're about to discover should never have left the secret archives of the Theosophical Society. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the woman who challenged both science and religion in the 19th century, whispered something in her final days that contradicts everything she taught publicly about the origin of humanity. What she confessed in private will shake every belief you have about who we are and where we came from. After discovering this revelation, you'll never look at another human being the same way again. If you were guided to this truth today, it's because your soul is prepared for the greatest revolution of consciousness in history. It was 1891, London, a dimly lit apartment on Lansdowne Road. Helena Blavatsky, at 60 years old, knew her days were numbered. Her health had deteriorated drastically after years of press attacks, hostile investigations, and the weight of carrying secrets that few mortals could bear. But that night, she made a decision that would change everything. Alice Cleather, her most trusted secretary, sat beside the bed where the founder of modern theosophy lay. The curtains were drawn. Only a candle illuminated the room. Helena had asked all other disciples to leave. What happened in that conversation was so disturbing that Alice swore never to reveal it, until fragments began to leak decades later. Alice. Helena's voice was a hoarse whisper. During all these years, I've protected humanity from a truth that could destroy their minds. But now, at death's threshold, I must confess, her trembling fingers gripped the secretary's wrist. Everything I wrote about humanity's spiritual evolution was just the tip of the iceberg. Helena closed her eyes, and when she reopened them, they gleamed with an intensity Alice had never seen before. It was as if something, or someone, was looking through them. We didn't evolve, Alice. We were planted, cultivated, shaped by intelligences so advanced that our brains can't even comprehend their nature. She paused, breathing with difficulty. And the most terrifying part is that they never left. Alice Cleather remained silent, while Helena rose from the bed with a strength that seemed impossible for someone so debilitated. With trembling hands, she opened a secret drawer in her desk, a drawer Alice had never noticed before. During my stay in Tibet, between 1868 and 1870, Helena murmured, withdrawing yellowed scrolls. The masters showed me texts that shouldn't exist, documents that tell the true history of human creation. She unrolled the first manuscript. The symbols were unlike anything Alice had ever seen. It wasn't Sanskrit, it wasn't Tibetan. It was something much older. This text speaks of the cosmic gardeners, beings who travel from world to world, seeding intelligent life where conditions are suitable. Helena ran her fingers over the mysterious symbols. 200,000 years ago, they arrived on Earth. They found a promising primate species and intervened. The silence in the room was deafening. Alice could hear only Helena's irregular breathing and the beating of her own heart. But the intervention wasn't just genetic, Alice. It was spiritual. They implanted fragments of their own consciousness into our primitive ancestors. That's why humans are unique. We carry their divine spark within us. Helena showed another scroll, this one with detailed drawings of tall humanoid figures, with features that seemed both human and something else. All ancient mythologies speak of the same thing, Alice. The Anunnaki of the Sumerians, the Elohim of the Hebrews, the Neteru of the Egyptians. They're not metaphors. They're memories, distorted by time. She sighed deeply. But the Tibetan texts preserved the pure truth. And that truth is that we're part of an experiment that's still ongoing. As you listen to this right now, stop for a second and think. Have you ever felt that you're different from other people around you? That there's something in you that you can't explain? Before continuing, tell me in the comments, what city are you listening to me from? I want to know where the people are who feel this deep connection with ancestral truths. Write your city in the comments. Maybe other people from your region are also discovering this at the same moment as you. Alice watched Helena with a mixture of fascination and terror. The woman she had known for years seemed to have been taken over by a force far beyond her usual personality. But the manuscripts were only the beginning, Helena whispered, storing away the scrolls. In the winter of 1870, something happened in the mountains that changed everything for me. She walked to the window, looking out at the London night as if she were seeing something far beyond the dark streets. I was alone in a cave in the Himalayas, meditating for 3 days without eating or drinking. Suddenly, The temperature in the cave changed drastically. The air became different, charged with an energy that made my skin tingle. Helena turned to Alice, her eyes glowing with supernatural intensity. Then I saw them. 3 figures materialized before me. They weren't physical in the sense we know. They were made of light, but a solid, real light. Their forms were human, but their proportions were too perfect. Tall, about 8 feet, and their faces— She paused, touching her own face. Their faces were like ours, but refined by millennia of evolution. Alice was mesmerized. She had never seen Helena so vulnerable, so shaken by a memory. What shocked me most wasn't their appearance, Alice. It was the recognition. When I looked into the eyes of the first being, I felt as if I were looking at home, as if a very ancient part of me knew exactly who they were. Helena approached the secretary, whispering almost inaudibly. They spoke directly into my mind, without words, without sound. And what they said was, "Helena, you are one of our seeds that has awakened. The time has come to prepare the others for the next stage." Alice's heart raced. There was something in Helena's voice that convinced her every word was true. They showed me visions of primitive Earth. I saw how they arrived in ships that looked like living crystals, capable of crossing dimensions. I saw how they selected specific groups of primates and altered not just their bodies, but implanted spiritual codes into their souls. Helena leaned closer to Alice. But the most disturbing thing was when they showed me the final purpose of the human experiment. We're not just their descendants, Alice. We're their successors. They're preparing us to become like them, creators of life, seeders of consciousness on other worlds. If you're feeling a chill down your spine right now, it's no coincidence. Leave an "I feel this" in the comments if a part of you recognizes this truth as something you always knew, even without ever having heard it. But here was the part Helena had never told anyone, the one that made her tremble with fear for decades. "They told me something else, Alice." Helena's voice was now almost inaudible. Something that made me question whether I should continue spreading the theosophical teachings. Alice leaned forward, her heart beating so loud she was sure Helena could hear it. "The human experiment has phases, and we're approaching the end of the 3rd phase." Helena walked to an antique mirror on the wall and touched its surface with her fingertips. The first 2 phases were physical and mental development. The 3rd phase, which we're living now, is spiritual awakening. She turned abruptly to Alice. "But there's a 4th phase, Alice, and that's where everything changes." The air in the room seemed to become denser. Alice felt as if an invisible presence had entered the room. In the 4th phase, humans who have completely awakened become bridges between dimensions. They acquire the ability to create life consciously, to shape reality with thought, to travel between worlds. Helena paused, observing Alice's shocked reaction. "In other words, they become gods." Alice swallowed hard. And those who haven't awakened?" Helena closed her eyes for a long moment. "That's the part that has terrified me for decades, Alice. The creators made it clear that not everyone is destined to ascend. There's a process of spiritual natural selection. Those who remain trapped in animal instincts, materialism, fear, will be recycled." Recycled? Alice could barely pronounce the word. "Their consciousnesses will return to the original pool of cosmic energy. They won't die, but they'll cease to exist as individualities. It's as if their personalities were dissolved back into the universal ocean." Helena approached Alice and held her hands. "And what haunts me most is that this process has already begun. The beings showed me signs by which we could recognize the beginning of the 4th phase. Changes in human consciousness, people beginning to develop psychic abilities naturally, an increase in spiritual sensitivity." Alice looked into Helena's eyes and saw tears forming. "Alice, all these symptoms, they're happening now. People who feel attracted to theosophical teachings, who seek deeper spiritual truths, who feel they're different, they're the seeds that are beginning to awaken. If you've made it this far, it wasn't by accident. You're part of those who are ready to know truths that most couldn't bear. If you feel you always knew you were special, different from others, leave it in the comments." But Helena still hadn't revealed the most shocking thing. What would happen when the 4th phase was completed? Alice could feel that Helena was preparing to reveal something that would change her life forever. The founder of Theosophy stood up again and opened another secret compartment, this one even more hidden than the previous ones. "Alice, there's one last document I've never shown anyone." Her hands trembled as she withdrew an object that seemed to be made of an unknown metal, covered with symbols that glowed with their own light. This didn't come from Tibet. It was given to me by the creators themselves. The object pulsed softly, as if it had a life of its own. Alice felt a strange vibration passing through her body just from being near it. "This is a cosmic memory crystal. It contains the complete records of human creation and what's to come." Helena held the crystal against her chest. "When I first touched it, I saw not just the past, but the future of humanity." She closed her eyes and seemed to be reliving an intense experience. "I saw that the final transformation will begin when a critical number of humans awaken. It doesn't need to be many. Just a few thousand truly expanded consciousnesses are enough to trigger a chain reaction that will affect the entire species." Helena opened her eyes and looked directly at Alice. "When this happens, the barrier between dimensions will begin to dissolve. The awakened humans will be able to see and interact with the creators directly, but more than that, they'll begin to manifest the same powers." Alice felt as if she were in a trance. "What kind of powers?" "Natural telepathy, healing ability through touch, vision of past and future lives, materialization of objects through thought." Helena paused, "and eventually, the ability to create conscious life." The crystal began to glow more intensely in Helena's hands. "But there's an aspect that deeply disturbed me, Alice. The creators showed me that this process won't be gradual. It will be sudden. In a single moment, all humans ready for ascension will undergo the transformation simultaneously. And those who aren't ready—" Helena couldn't finish the sentence. Alice saw tears streaming down the face of the strongest woman she knew. "They'll simply disappear. Not violently, not with suffering. It will be like falling asleep and never waking up again. Their consciousnesses will return to the original source, but their individual personalities will dissolve." Alice was trembling. "And when will this happen?" Helena held the crystal tighter and looked through the window at the night sky. "The signs are everywhere, Alice. The mass spiritual awakening that began in this century, the scientific discoveries that bring science closer to spirituality, the increase in mystical experiences reported by ordinary people." She turned to Alice. "We're living on the threshold of the fourth phase. Leave your first reaction to this revelation in the comments. Do you feel you're ready for this transformation, or does it scare you? Share your thoughts. Others who are going through the same awakening need to know they're not alone." Helena approached Alice one last time, holding her hands with surprising strength. "Alice, I need you to promise something. If I die before I can adequately prepare humanity, you must find a way to preserve this truth. Not all of it, that would be too dangerous, but enough fragments so that those who are ready can recognize the signs." Alice nodded, still in shock. "Because, my dear friend, what I'm about to reveal next about my own origin, about who I really am, and why I was chosen to carry this message, this will connect all the dots in a way you never imagined possible." Helena put the crystal back in its hiding place and looked at Alice with a mysterious smile. "But this final revelation, you'll only discover this when I tell you about my true nature and my real mission on Earth, because I'm not who you think I am, Alice. And perhaps neither are you." Alice could barely process what she had heard when Helena went to one last secret drawer that seemed to be protected by a strange mechanism. When she opened it, she withdrew a collection of letters and official documents. "Alice, during all these years, I thought I was being persecuted simply for challenging established religions." Helena held the papers with trembling hands. "But the truth is much more sinister." She showed the first letter, an official Vatican document dated 1875. The Catholic Church, the main scientific universities, certain high-degree Masonic lodges, they know the truth about our origin. They've known for centuries. Helena's voice was loaded with a mixture of anger and sadness. "These documents prove there's a coordinated conspiracy to keep humanity ignorant about their true nature." Alice looked at the letter in Latin, understanding only fragments. "What they fear isn't that people will discover God exists, Alice. They fear that people will discover they are gods. Because a human being who awakens to their true power doesn't need intermediaries between them and the divine. Helena showed another document. This was correspondence between scientists from the Royal Society of London. Look at this. They discuss how to suppress archaeological evidence that contradicts the theory of evolution. Giant skeletons found in various parts of the world, technological artifacts impossible for their times, constructions that defy our understanding of ancient engineering. She paused, breathing with difficulty. But the most shocking is this letter here. Helena held a document that seemed to be written in code. It's communication between leaders of different religions agreeing to keep certain truths secret. They know that all religions derive from the same original source, direct contact with the creators. Alice felt as if the world was crumbling around her. But why, Helena? Why hide this? Helena looked directly into Alice's eyes. Because a slave who discovers he's not a slave ceases to be controllable. Humanity has been kept in spiritual ignorance to be more easily governed. Fear of death, need for salvation, dependence on religious authorities, all of this disappears when a person recognizes their divine nature. She carefully gathered the documents. And now, Alice, it's time for you to know why I was chosen to bring these truths, because my origin is not what you imagine. If you feel you've always suspected there's a conspiracy to keep humanity small and dependent, leave it in the comments. How many of you feel you were born to break these chains? Helena walked to the window and remained silent for several minutes. When she finally turned around, Alice saw that her face had completely changed. It was as if a mask had fallen. Alice, I was not born on this planet. The words came out so naturally that Alice needed a few seconds to process what she had heard. My consciousness came from elsewhere. What you know as Helena Blavatsky is just the physical body my soul chose for this mission. She approached slowly. I am one of the original seeds the creators planted thousands of years ago, but my consciousness remained connected to the source. Alice felt as if she were dreaming. Actually, Alice, there are hundreds of us scattered across Earth throughout history. Beings who look human live human lives, but carry within them the complete memory of our cosmic origin. Helena sat on the edge of the bed, facing Alice. When I was only 5 years old, I began having visions. I saw my previous life on other worlds, remembered conversations with the creators, could access knowledge I hadn't learned in this life. She smiled sadly. My parents thought I was insane, but as I grew up, I learned to hide these abilities. I traveled the world not in search of spiritual knowledge, as everyone thinks, but to find others like me, to gather the awakened seeds and prepare humanity for what's coming. Alice could barely breathe. Others like you? How many? More than you imagine. Fewer than we need. Helena looked at her own hands as if seeing them for the first time. Tesla is awakening to his true nature. That's why he can channel technologies that shouldn't exist yet. Gandhi carries an ancient consciousness focused on humanity's spiritual liberation. Einstein is being prepared to reveal truths about the nature of reality that go far beyond relativity. Helena stood up and gently touched Alice's face. And you, my dear Alice, you're not just my secretary. You're one of the seeds in the process of awakening. That's why you can bear these revelations without going insane. Alice felt as if lightning had passed through her body. Strange memories began to emerge. Dreams she always had about flying among stars, knowledge about things she never studied. Every person who feels attracted to theosophical teachings, every soul who seeks deeper truths, every mind that questions the limitations imposed by society, they're seeds in various stages of awakening. Helena held Alice's hands. But now I must reveal the greatest secret of all, the true purpose behind all this incarnation. Helena breathed deeply and walked to the center of the room. When she raised her hands, Alice saw something impossible happen. Small lights began to dance around Helena's fingers, as if she were manipulating pure energy. Alice, there's something that not even the other awakened ones know. Helena's voice had completely changed. It sounded deeper, more ancient, loaded with an authority that transcended her human form. Earth is not just a planet where the creators conducted an experiment. It's a portal. The lights around her hands intensified, forming complex geometric patterns that mesmerized Alice. There are specific points in the universe where dimensions touch, places where the barrier between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinner. Earth is one of these points. In fact, it's the most powerful one the creators have ever discovered. Helena moved her hands, and the lights organized into a perfect spiral above her head. The true objective of the human experiment was never just to create a new intelligent species. It was to create guardians for this portal, beings capable of controlling passage between dimensions and protecting cosmic balance. Alice was mesmerized. The lights seemed to be telling a visual story while Helena spoke. When a sufficient number of humans completely awaken, about 144,000 fully expanded consciousnesses, something extraordinary will happen. The portal will open permanently. Helena lowered her hands, and the light slowly dissipated. This will allow the creators to manifest physically on Earth again, but more importantly, it will allow ascended humans to travel freely between dimensions, spreading consciousness and life to other planets that are ready to receive seeds. Alice finally found her voice. And if we can't awaken enough people? Helena's expression became somber. Then the portal remains closed for a few more thousand years, and the experiment continues. But Alice, she paused dramatically. The signs indicate we're very close to the necessary number. The seeds are awakening at an unprecedented speed. Helena approached the window once more. And there's something else you need to know. Something about the exact moment when this transformation will happen. Write in the comments if you feel you're beginning to awaken abilities you can't explain. How many of you have already felt you have a greater mission in this life? But Alice wasn't prepared for what Helena was about to reveal about the timing of this transformation. Helena remained silent for a few moments, as if she were receiving information from an invisible source. When she finally spoke, her voice was loaded with an urgency Alice had never heard before. Alice, what I'm about to reveal now is the most crucial part of everything. Helena turned from the window with her eyes shining intensely. The opening of the portal won't happen gradually. It will be a sudden event, cosmically coordinated, that will occur at a specific moment in human history. Alice felt a chill run down her spine. The creators showed me the signs that will indicate the proximity of this moment. Great changes in collective consciousness, scientific discoveries that bring science and spirituality closer, dramatic increase in psychic experiences in ordinary people, and, Helena paused, an entire generation of children being born with naturally expanded abilities. Helena walked to Alice and firmly held her shoulders. When that moment comes, every human soul will face an instantaneous and definitive choice. It won't be a conscious decision, but an automatic response from the deepest level of being. Those who resonated with their original divine nature will be elevated. Those who remained trapped in fears and limitations simply won't be able to make the transition. Alice was trembling. What happens to those who can't? They don't die, Alice. Their consciousnesses are delicately transferred to other planets where the experiment is in earlier stages. They continue their evolutionary journey, but in environments more suitable to their current level of development. Helena stepped away and looked through the window again. But for those who ascend, Alice, the transformation will be so complete they'll barely be able to remember what it was like to be limited by a dense physical body. They'll become multidimensional beings, capable of existing simultaneously in various planes of reality. She turned abruptly. And here's what both excites and terrifies me the most. This moment is very, very close. The creators showed me that an exponential acceleration of human awakening will begin. People who led ordinary lives will suddenly begin having profound mystical experiences. Individuals who never interested themselves in spirituality will feel an irresistible attraction to deeper truths. Helena held Alice's hands again. Alice, everyone who feels attracted to this conversation we're having, everyone who resonates with these truths about our cosmic origin, you are the seeds that are awakening to participate in this transformation. Alice felt as if every cell in her body was vibrating at a new frequency. But there's a terrible responsibility that comes with this knowledge. Helena's voice became almost inaudible. Those of us who know must help others awaken, without forcing, without frightening, just planting seeds of questioning in minds that are ready. If you feel your life changed just by listening to this, if you feel that a part of you always knew these truths, you're not alone. Leave in the comments how this revelation is affecting you at this moment. Helena walked to her desk one last time and withdrew a small crystal, Different from the previous one, this one glowed with a soft golden light. "Alice, this is my last gift to you, and through you, to all those who are ready to awaken." She placed the crystal in Alice's hands. "This crystal contains not only the memories I shared today, but also an activation code." Alice felt the crystal pulse gently in her palms. "When you touch other people with these hands, when you look into the eyes of those who are ready, when you simply be present near awakened souls, this code will be transmitted. You'll become an activator, Alice, just as I was." Helena sat in her favorite chair for the last time. "My mission in this body is almost complete. I planted the necessary seeds through theosophical teachings, gathered the awakened ones I found, and now I pass the torch to the next generation." She smiled with deep peace. "But you must understand something crucial. This revelation you received today is not to be preached on street corners." Alice nodded, still processing the magnitude of everything she had discovered. Truth spreads vibration by vibration, soul by soul. When someone is ready to hear, the universe conspires for these words to reach them. When a consciousness is mature for awakening, it's magnetically attracted to information like this. Helena closed her eyes for a moment, as if she were connecting one last time with her cosmic guides. "Alice, in the coming years, you'll see signs everywhere. Books will appear by chance in the right hands. People will meet coincidentally at the exact moment they need to exchange information. Dreams and visions will become more common. Reality itself will seem to be conspiring in favor of human awakening." She opened her eyes and looked directly at Alice, but it was as if she were looking through her, to everyone who would one day hear these words. "For you who are listening to this now, know that it's no coincidence. Your soul was guided to this information because you are one of the seeds ready to awaken. You are part of the solution, part of the transformation this planet is experiencing." Helena stood up for the last time and walked to the window, looking at the stars beginning to appear in the night sky. "Remember, you are not just humans having a spiritual experience. You are cosmic beings having a human experience, and the time has come to remember who you really are." She turned to Alice one last time. "Alice, promise me you'll find ways to preserve fragments of this truth. Not all of it. That would be dangerous for those who aren't ready. But enough clues so awakened souls can connect the dots." Alice held the crystal against her heart and made the promise. "And for all of you who resonated with this truth, your journey is just beginning. Begin to pay attention to the signs around you. Trust your intuition when it guides you to certain people, places, or information. And especially, don't be afraid to be different." Helena smiled one last time. "Because you are different. You are the seeds that will germinate in the new earth. And the entire universe is rooting for you. If you made it to the end of this revelation, leave in the comments just one word: awakened. I want to know how many seeds we managed to activate today. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it now. Synchronicity will make it reach exactly the right people at the right moment. Remember, the future of humanity depends on how many of us we can awaken in time. You are the chosen ones. You are the hope. You are the creators of the new world. The transformation has already begun.